Welcome to We Digress with Joi and Jess. Join hosts and longtime friends Joy Simpson and Jess Perry as they tackle the stuff of life the only way they know how, with honesty, faith, and humor. This is We Digress with Joi and Jess.
Hey everyone, welcome to We Digress with Joi and Jess. I am Jess.
That would make me Joy.
It would.
One day I'm going to not sing that. It just happens.
No, you won't. Don't lie to the people. You will sing forever and always.
Whoa.
Your pants are on fire. You liar, liar.
I do try not to be so extra sometimes. It doesn't always work.
I mean, she tries. I try, but we don't always. Not at all.
Yeah, we don't always succeed. Well, there is some exciting news today. As we are recording this is the launch of season 3 of We Digress with Joi and Jess. So not this episode, but this date that we're recording for episode 1 of season 3 is now launching. And that is exciting. I happened to be up with stomach issues at like 5 o'clock in the morning when I did the 1 minute and 45 seconds to when your episode airs. And I watched the first 5 minutes and I had forgotten some of what we talked about.
Well, it's funny because we try to record. So here's a little behind the scenes behind Inside Baseball action. We try to record several episodes ahead. So we have right now we're 7 episodes ahead. And we do that because our schedules are tricky a lot of the time. Like next week, you're going to be out of town. A couple weeks ago, I was out of town. And so we just try to have several of these in the can so that we have content that can come out on a regular basis. For you guys, it's pretty seamless, but for us, it's a little bit of time has passed. So I always have the fun task of going through and re-editing all the video afterwards. And last night I was putting the clips together and uploading them and stuff. And I was like, oh yeah, I forgot. And then of course that was the episode where we were on our old platform, my recording platform, and it totally just kicked me off of it. So probably, I don't know, 3 minutes before the end of the episode, I disappear entirely. It's a whole technical difficulties thing. So we had a little bit of fun with that, but it was.
But we've been loving our new platform.
Shout out
been really
to
great.
Riverside.
Shout out to Riverside. Yeah, it's been really great. So hopefully we won't have any more malfunctions.
Yeah, I think the episodes that come out, episodes 2 and maybe 3, were still recorded on Zencastr. I know 2 was. But we liked Zencastr. It was great. It's just the technology, it was not, for whatever reason, it was not as stable as we needed it to be. So we've moved over to Riverside.
Yeah, we would get kicked out often and things like that, halfway through, or Jessica would hit record and then it would go 3, 2, 1 and then poof, be gone.
Maybe we'll do a special episode of how the sausage gets made, as it were, and talk about
totally
our lack.
That
of
may be
process.
one to do while we are together in a month. Because, well, not exactly in a month, but in a month and some weeks, I will be in Georgia with
ready.
Jessica. I'm not either.
But, legitimately not ready. There's too much stuff. I'm not sure.
I know you're not ready for different reasons than I'm not ready, but we're not ready. But there's going to be some really exciting things happening when we're together. That'll also be the weekend of our Craft It Women's Conference. And I am looking forward to it. Jessica's more stressed about it because she is literally the reason the sausage gets made. I throw things together and maybe add some seasoning at times, not even always. And then she makes sure it's in the casing, in the package, ready for sale by dates and all this other stuff. That's Jessica. And so I am more of the, we can do it.
We are.
That's me.
Yeah,
but that'll be the conference, and we're going to record at least one episode while we're together. So that may be one of the episodes we do, and we can show a few behind the scenes and how things work. And so that might be a fun thing to do when we're together. So
definitely, I was hoping that I would be in our house by then and we could record there. But
I know
that we're never moving, so it's never going to get built. It's just
don't say you're never moving.
We will be here.
Watch your mouth.
There's movement on that, but it's not for public consumption yet. So I'll give you the full scoop on that.
No, I don't share that yet.
But
you are going to move into your house. It's not a never. It's gonna happen, and I'm just believing God that it's happening sooner than you believe, because of how jaded this situation has now started to become. Y'all pray for Jessica in this house situation. The housing situation is never like always peaches and roses, right?
Oh no.
But she has had such a difficult time. It's been like all the thorns of the roses and like very sour peaches, and like you can't get any good like anything from it. So
No.
As of right now, so it's hard to see the sunshine for the rain at this point. I don't know where I'm getting all these metaphors today.
You were
apparently I'm in a
poetic
mood
over there. I don't even know what's going on. Oh man, but it is. It's always an adventure. So we have a lot going on, a lot of things, but we are excited about season 3. We're excited. I mean, by the time you hear this, you will have heard all of the episodes in between, and there's some real fun stuff that's going on. But we really appreciate you guys listening and watching, and
we do. Yes, we really do.
It was super encouraging to me within the first 3 hours of the video being live today. We already had a comment on our YouTube channel, which, we're growing our YouTube channel. So if you are a newer listener and you're not subscribed to YouTube, you should do that. The links are in all of our bios, wherever you find information for us. You can go to joyandjess.com. We'd love for you to follow us there. Have plans to grow all of our platforms. Just add
that's our goal, man.
I needed to have won the lottery.
Yeah.
And then we could have devoted all the time.
So that's going to be, that's kind of what we want to talk about. Like before we recorded today, before we record, we always kind of have like a debrief moment. We kind of like, not just talk about what we're going to talk about, or sometimes we schedule things and we change it up or say that might be a little too heavy today or whatever. So we do like a little debriefing. So we just happened to be talking about the lottery, and she was like, I was trying to win the lottery for us. I was like, girl, that would have been so good.
Right.
So then it kind of came to us like, what would we do if we were to lose the lottery?
Oh, I lose the lottery all the time. Well, not all the time.
No, right. We lose it all the time. Win the lottery. And then like, there's a lot of debate as to whether Christians should play the lottery and scratchers and all those things. So it'll be interesting to share. We haven't gone too much into detail. I do know that only thing I do know so far in this last Mega Millions, Jessica would have taken the lump sum.
Yes.
Whereas always. I was considering the yearly installment. But she totally has a good point. So let's get into it.
We will. We are in communities in our different spaces. Now that we're across the country from each other, we each have different communities. And even when we were both in California, I mean, LA and Orange County are like, might as well be different planets half the time. Like, because
literally apples and oranges sometimes.
Like, I hated venturing up into LA. I was like, you can't make a left turn in this town. What's wrong with people? But you were mentioning this morning that there had been this really bad car accident, actually.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah. So if you're in the LA area, you know where the Windsor Hills area is. It's near Slauson and La Brea. It's literally like maybe 5 to 7 minutes from my house. This is a gas station that my mom and I frequent all the time. When I first heard about the accident, my first thought was it happened inside the actual parking lot of the gas station, because even though it's usually very reasonable and all this other stuff, I remember when it was being built, we didn't know what was going to happen, because it looked like because it was a gas station before, years and years ago. Then it was torn down and was going to be something like really elaborate. Come to find out, it was going to be another gas station just with a very cool like George Jetson car wash ramp. And so like it has like this like, yeah. So if you're in LA, you know what gas station I'm talking about. So sometimes the traffic in and out of there, because it is one of the most frequent on the corner. There's literally a gas station on each corner in that intersection. Oh, yeah. There's a Shell, there's an Arco, and there's like a random 99 down the highway gas station. I don't know the name of it. And then there's United Oil, which is where this situation took place. Oh. So I have been seeing on Facebook and a couple other places that there was a really big accident in Windsor Hills, and I was like, what happened? Like, do I know anybody?
Right.
Because, again, that is a very frequent. Matter of fact, that is the same intersection where I got in a car accident on my way to work when I was in the Uber that time.
Oh.
Same intersection. Yeah. So, it was like this whole thing. And I was like, what was going on? So my mom got home from work. I was like, hey, did you hear about the accident? I know it was very tragic. I knew that several people had died in the accident. And at the time that I was telling her, I didn't know how many. And or exactly what had happened. I just knew there was some cars on fire, there was a major accident, lots of casualties, right? So I looked it up and I went to Google and did Windsor Hill car crash, La Brea. And there were 6 injured, including an infant and a pregnant mother who were both in the same vehicle. And there was also 6 people total, 8 teens and 2 adults, or 6 teens, 2 adults that were critically injured, including the driver of the car. Sorry if you guys hear some noise. I'm about to touch my earbud because it seems to be falling out of my ear. Okay. So, I kind of read about it, but then what made it really like, whoa, is when my mom was kind of watching the news last night and I was in my bedroom. She's like yelling out from her room, saying stuff to me. And she's like, wait, do you want to see the video? And I was like, not really. But then I was like, let me see. So basically, on the corners of Slauson and La Brea, there was a black Mercedes who was speeding down La Brea. The light at La Brea was red. So the light on Slauson was still green. It hadn't just turned red. It had been red for a minute. She like came out of nowhere and she barrels into the intersection, hits like 2 or 3 cars, and then rams into the gas station. It almost went up like a swoop. So if you're not watching, my hand kind of went up like you're going in a roller coaster in a swoop on the United Oil station. Burst into flames, another car catches fire, and it caused like this huge train reaction.
Oh, well, yeah.
And then I already knew about the infant, but what really, really hurt my heart was the car seat was in the middle of the street on the other side from where the car was. And there was a lady, a bystander, who said that there was metal flying and all these different things. There was people who saw, and there was metal flying. There was another lady who she thought her car was on fire because one of the cars on fire was in front of her in the parking spot. Like she had just gotten back in her car from pumping gas. Another woman got hit as she was coming out of the gas station. And so there was a bystander that said that she tried to go help the baby, but she was blocking herself from debris. And by the time she got there, there was nothing she could do for the baby. And I was just like, oh. So I was telling Jess, like, it sent my heart into this super prayer mode. Like, I came back in my room and I just kind of just pleaded the blood of Jesus and prayed for protection for like everybody I know, whether they're in the state, out of the state. I was thankful because my mom convinced me to go walking in the park yesterday. A group I work with, Sisters in Ministry, they started walking clubs, and we have different walking clubs going on at different parks. And at the end of the summer, we'll join together. So I did a little bit. I only did a half a mile, but I was like, thought about the fact that I walked back to the car by myself and my mother finished the lap by herself. Anything could have happened. Yeah. And so I just went into like this super prayer mode and just was like, I don't think I've prayed like that in a while, to be honest with you, and it wasn't about me. It was just covering like the hearts of those people. There was someone on the news after I had walked out of my mom's bedroom, and she said there was a young lady who didn't know that one of her family members was affected and showed up at the scene because they were still working on the scene last night. It happened in the afternoon. It happened in broad daylight. This happened at like 1 o'clock, at 1:30, I think, in the afternoon. So at like the 10 o'clock news, 11 o'clock news, they were still cleaning up. Yeah. The intersection was blocked off. The 2 cars that were the most fiery, they had finally, like, all the embers had, like, still, they pulled the woman out of the Mercedes, which is the one who caused the crash. The CHP was saying that they don't know what the situation is yet, like what caused it, was she drinking? Was it a heart attack? Was it a stroke? Yeah. And to me, not that it will make it better, but it would make it better in my mind if there was some medical emergency going on with her that caused her to blank out and not realize what was happening. Because I'm telling you, when I tell you the speed she was going was like insane to barrel through that light that was red and had been red. It did not just turn red. They had been waiting. I think it turned green maybe like a little bit right after. And the newscaster kept saying, you gotta look to the left because it goes really fast. And they weren't lying. Like, we rewound it twice because I was like, wait, what? Like, I just saw a zoom and then fire at first. And I was just like, what? And it's just like, 6 people lost, and this one lady who didn't know, like, her family member or her friend was involved, and she showed up at the scene just last night at like 10:30. Like, oh my God, like, I guess she had been trying to reach them or something like that, and she didn't know, and she was just not okay. And they were all sent to now the Ronald Reagan UCLA Medical Hospital. So it's not UCLA Medical, it's Ronald Reagan, because I was like, Ronald Reagan. I'm so used to just saying UCLA.
Right.
So they were all at UCLA Medical. And I told Jess I wanted to share this, just not to like be a bummer, but just to, even though this will air a few weeks after this has happened, just continue to keep those people in prayer, because what happens in these situations, we see these things, we pray about it then, and then we don't think about it again. I just pray for comfort for those who lost family.
Yeah.
Pray for peace for those that were involved. This is a traumatic situation for those, especially the teenagers that were involved, that their injuries are not, impacting their life in such a negative way. It's a rough one, and my heart was just like, I immediately, after I finished praying, I was like, I got to tell Jess about this in the morning. Like, I just, because of the time difference, I didn't text her last night, because she was very much in bed by the time this happened. But so it was in the Windsor Hills area, aka La Brea and Slauson, and it was bad. And just, I'm so grateful, that those I know and love are safe, at least that I know of right now, and just praying for those families, especially, not saying that any of the deaths were greater or lesser, but there's a man out there who lost his wife and 2 children because there was an infant in the car and she was pregnant. And so that's a rough one.
Yeah, it is. There was a lady here in Savannah and Pooler, actually, in our neighborhood where we're building. There's a center gate that opens up to a fountain. And then there's in Georgia, they have a lot of water retention ponds. And water retention ponds are how we manage, because we actually have weather here. We actually have rain. And so this is how we manage all the water runoff, and there's a high water table and stuff like that. This lady came through the gate. She was having a medical emergency. She was having a diabetic issue, and she plowed through the gate, and then it's a traffic circle. We have a lot of traffic circles here randomly. And
Texas is that way too.
Yeah. But instead of going left for the traffic circle, because she was having a medical emergency, she went right. She went right into one of these lakes, these lagoons. And they happened to be building where my in-laws have just bought their house. It wasn't their house that was right next to it, but it was in the same neighborhood. That's the next street over with their housing. And one of the construction guys saw it happen, and he dove into the water, and he pulled her out of the car and saved her. And then, of course, Pooler Fire and stuff came in and pulled the vehicle out. But, it's so uncertain. If you're having a medical issue like that, you don't know, especially when it's a blood sugar or a seizure or a heart attack or something like that. So
or anything like that.
I totally understand what you mean when you say you hope it was that, because that is a tragic accident. It's when someone has chosen to drink and drive, or someone who has chosen to drive recklessly. That's when you
it wasn't either one of those.
Yeah, you can't. You can't fathom that.
I mean, the reality is, though, also, you know, like I said, I am hoping it is something that was medical and not reckless driving or drunk driving. And I'm gonna be honest with you, lately, the last few weeks we've been out and been outside, you know, as people say, we're outside because we weren't outside, and then now monkeypox, we might go back inside, but that's a whole nother story for another day. And I am just like, I want you to just leave all your monkeys away from me, and that's all I have to say about it. Like, keep all the monkeys. You know, I this is a total quick digression. I saw a makeup artist friend of mine post. It was like, if you have any open sores or any scratches or anything like that, I will not be working on you. And I don't blame her, because first of all, that's not safe with makeup open. Like, but keep your monkeys away. Anyway, but as we've been outside the last few weeks, I'm sorry, I tickled Jessica. I don't mean to. I feel like so many people are just driving completely reckless. And I don't know if it's like that in Georgia, but out here,
they can't drive out here. I swear.
Oh,
I
gosh.
don't know if it's a new thing or what, but I have seen the most ridiculous driving in my life. And like, I'm used to LA driving, and I thought, people are crazy.
You haven't seen ridiculous driving till you've been to New York and Russia, honey. They are one and the same.
You know what? I think they probably moved. There's a lot of New Yorkers that have moved to Georgia, to Savannah area. And I think I
had never in my life ever seen people not pull over for the ambulance and police cars. Not in New York, they don't. They stand there like, you gonna go when the rest of us go when this light turn green. Nobody moves over.
Yeah.
Nobody does anything. And the first time I was in New York and I told my mom about it, she's like, you are lying. I was like, I am not. Like,
oh no.
It was, they don't play. And in Russia, we found that it's kind of similar. And like, I had a friend who almost got clipped twice, because once the light turns green in Russia, they are going. It doesn't matter if the pedestrian is still getting up on the curb. Yeah, they're going to clip you. And so LA and other places, I'm like, people, it's already bad enough that people do not drive for other people. They drive for themselves. And you have to drive for other people because other people are not driving for you. Mm-hmm. So you have to make sure not only are you being safe, but that you are making sure that you are watching the sides and the fronts and all of that.
Defensive driving. It's a good idea.
It really is. And I'm like, the freeways and even on the street, like, people have been driving like 80 miles an hour. I'm like, where are you going? Nowhere is that much of a rush. And if you're in that much of a hurry, you should have left 25 to 30 minutes ahead of time so that you're not late to wherever you're going. Because even if you are late, that's not an excuse to be putting other people's lives in danger.
Right.
Because when you drive recklessly, no matter how safe you think you are still putting someone's life at danger.
Absolutely.
Including your own.
Right.
Period.
Well, and the thing is, like, people, I swear, people have gone feral. Humanity has gone feral in the last 2 years. It's a joke that I've made, but it's not really a joke.
It's real.
It is. The thing that has surprised me, I have commented to John this before, and I don't know how quite to characterize it out here, because, I don't like to make broad generalizations, but because the actual individual people, for the most part, that I have met are wonderful. Like, when you meet people and you have a conversation with someone, they're great. But like the collective, especially when it comes to driving, like in California, we all knew that the traffic sucked. So we were all in the same boat, and we were all in this together, like a great big High School Musical, In Georgia, the thing that I have noticed is that it's like every man for himself. Like, right. We have lived here 9 months now. We've lived here 9 months as of today. Today's our 9-month anniversary. Happy us. But I've seen more cars just decide to drive over the center median, like the grass median.
The center median? Like, really?
Yeah. So, like, first off, whoever did.
Does everybody drive a truck?
Yeah. Yeah. It's Georgia. It's South Georgia.
It's Georgia.
There's a lot of trucks. But a lot of trucks, a lot of SUVs. But I have seen 5 or 6 in 9 months, who just decide that they're tired of waiting at the light and they're going to make a U-turn. And so they just drive across the center median and make a U-turn.
What?
And it's like, if it were once or twice, I'd be like, oh, that's just a jerk, No.
So maybe it's just an unspoken Georgia thing that people do.
I think
not trying to generalize the people of Georgia. I love you. Thanks for taking care of my friends. I think
it is just, this is the only mindset. And I don't mean this in a pejorative or negative way. I think it is, particularly where we live in the town of Pooler, it has seen incredible exponential growth over the last 15 years. Like the town used to be very small. In fact, we call it Old Pooler. It's like this one strip of Highway 80. And it's like that's where the town started, right? And then now there's all this other development. We have like a big outlet mall. We have, all these new houses that have come in. The town has grown by like leaps and bounds. And whoever is in charge of traffic for the city of Pooler needs to be taken out behind the woodshed, because I could do a better job having played SimCity and City Skylines. Like, I am half tempted to try and go get a job. Like, SimCity, I can fix it. I can fix our traffic problems better than whatever chucklehead they've got in there, because it's stupid. They are raging. Anyways,
it sounds retarded.
It's ridiculous, and like I don't. Yeah, it's not good. And so I can understand the frustration with drivers not wanting to go, because like it sometimes takes John an hour to get back from Savannah, and that's like LA traffic levels. And it's surprising. And like literally the length.
And Savannah's not that far from you guys, right?
No,
you technically live in a suburb of Savannah. We
technically live in Savannah. Like our right now in the apartment, our address is Savannah, but it's like the outskirts, unincorporated Savannah, and like across the street is Pooler. But that's where our house is being built, is in the city of Pooler. But like the crazy thing is, what I think has happened is it's this small town mindset and a small town mentality where you don't have to worry about the repercussions of a rando left turn over the median, because it's not that big of a deal, right? But now the city has become more sophisticated, and there are thousands more vehicles and thousands more people, and you can't. Right. That's not how a modern cosmopolitan place operates, because it's not safe. No. And that mindset shift has not happened, because if you go 10 minutes outside of Pooler, it is super rural. It is dirt roads. It is like a country song, because it's very, very rural and very, very, not as highly developed. Right. So we are still there's lots of open space. I mean, there's far less than where we are, but I think it's just this mentality. And again, I don't mean this in a pejorative way. It's just a lack of sophistication, like city sophistication, and that general, like brotherhood feeling vibe, like that I didn't realize California had until I left California and I went, oh yeah, like, people were more.
It's like you think California is rude until you go to other places. You think California and people out here are rude until you go somewhere else, and you're like, oh.
Well, and that's the thing. Like Californians, we have this like mentality of like we're very rude, and we're like in like all man, every man for himself, and like the South has this identity as just being like very hospitable and all this kind of stuff. And what I have found is, and I think this has been the biggest culture shock. It's not even so much like the y'alls on the sweet tea, like that part I can get behind, like that's great. But it's
I mean, who can't get behind sweet tea? Like,
yeah, something wrong with you, like sweet tea.
And I love a good y'all. I love a country accent though, but that's just
they make it sweet. And when I talk about sweet tea, it's like it's gonna give you cavities.
My family's from the South, so I absolutely know. I spent summers there. I know. Even if it wasn't Georgia, it's Texas, and Texas is spicy and sweet. Our sausages are spicy. Our boudin can have a little kick to it, and our tea is super sweet.
Right, and you best make it with some baking soda.
Yeah,
because that's how you make tea.
Yeah.
I don't, because if it's not going to sit in the fridge for that long, if it's going to get drunk quick, you don't have to do it. But if it's going to sit in the, you got to put some.
And
anyways,
I had one aunt who was like all about the sun tea. Like she'd have it sit and then
my mom was that way for like 2 seconds.
And then she'd turn it into like diabetes tea. I mean, sweet tea. And
well, for really diabetes.
And it's, well, anyway, so you were saying the biggest culture shock, it wasn't the y'alls and the sweet tea, but
it was this kind of very individualistic mindset.
Interesting.
Yeah. There is not a collective mindset the way that there is on the West Coast or in California.
I think the West Coast gets a bad rap. We really do. And but here's the thing. People are encountering people who are not originally from here, that are from other places, who transplanted here and say that they're from here. And then they're like, y'all are rude, when we're not.
Well, and see, that's the argument that a lot of locals make about Savannah too, because we have a ton of people like us who have come from somewhere else. And, the locals will say, well, what you're really seeing is you're seeing a lot of that outside influence, because there are to be fair, there are very few, homegrown Georgians in our area anymore. It is a lot of people, particularly because Savannah is a tourist town. So you get a lot of people from outside. If you're in Savannah proper, because it is a tourist town, I find that people are much friendlier and much nicer in the touristy area. If you go outside the touristy area, not so much. But like in Pooler, it's definitely not that way. It's been an interesting shift. Now, when you meet like at church, everyone at our church is lovely and wonderful and just kind. And
well, that's a relief.
Right.
Because I would be like,
that is great. It's like, I don't know, someone about to get behind the wheel of a car and they lose their mind. It's like, it's
funny because I was just seeing like a TikTok about some of these things similarly, like, especially in regards to California, like, this girl was like, came to visit Hollywood and was like, oh, this is what y'all talking about, Hollywood, I'm in LA. No, she said, I'm in LA for the first time, take me back to New York, this is trash, blah, 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 blah. So this guy stitched it and was like, first of all, you're obviously a tourist, because when you go to LA, you need to find people from LA to tell you where to go in LA. You don't go downtown, go to Hollywood with the tourists and he said the meth addicts and he's not wrong. You know what I'm saying? He did. And so in the comments, this one guy was like, obviously she didn't plan her trip well. Like, it was like, tell me you didn't plan your trip well to California without telling me you didn't plan your trip well. And it's true, because people have these expectations of some of these other more pretentious areas and things like that, when there's so much rich culture and history all around the city of Los Angeles and Inglewood and different things like that. There's museums, you don't have to go to Santa Monica and Beverly Hills, although I do like Beverly Hills, but you don't have to do those things to be like, I went to LA, because that's not LA. Or like, I was talking to a Uber driver not that long ago, and he's a transplant here from Oakland, and he's here. He does modeling and some other things, and he's like frustrated because he like hears people. He actually was on like, he feels more like a local, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He hates
Oakland
the conversations
and LA,
he hates the conversations of people who come here and they're like, oh, I live in LA, but they live in like Echo Park, or they live in Pasadena, or they live in like, and then they're complaining. Or he's like, but you're not around what you're saying you're around. And then you're acting like it's bad, because he's like, you're not in the right area. So he was like offended. I like that he was offended for us, because he wasn't even from here. He's from Oakland. But he said his father always had family here, so he knew a lot of the areas before he moved down here for work or whatever. Right. And but there's a lot of these conversations, I guess this is, and everywhere, because when I went to New York, the conception I've had, the first time I went, the conception I had was everybody's rude. Everybody is like, now they do walk super fast.
You don't get
people
in the way of
have walking down to a science. Do you understand me? Like, the first time I was there, I could do walking really well. The last 2 times I went, I couldn't really walk very well. But their walking is like something to be desired. Like, no wonder these people do marathons like crazy in New York all the time, because like, seriously, the speed is something to be desired. So that was accurate. But everybody isn't like some super... I think their tone of voice and their accents is what makes people very like uncomfortable. Yeah. It makes it feel like people are mad and have attitude. Now, you will encounter some who are just genuinely rude or whatever. whatever. But the most part, like, we had a really good time. And then I had some people say, well, you spent most of your time in Manhattan. Of course, everybody's going to like you in Manhattan. Manhattan, I mean, it's fancy, but it's not like there's not real people in Manhattan. Please let me help you understand. And Times Square is busy on a natural day. I always hear people talking about how they want to go for New Year's Eve. Don't do that. Don't do that to yourself.
First off,
do not do
it's
that
stupid cold.
to yourself. Not only is it cold, Times Square is packed on a random March 7th at 7 p.m. Can you imagine the madness for New Year's Rockin' Eve and all of that? Girl, watch it on TV and go another day. Like, don't do that to yourself. Like, don't do it. I hear people always say, oh, that's like a bucket list thing. Take that off your bucket list. Do not do that. Like, it's not. But I had my own personal bias going there because I had heard all these things about how New Yorkers are and how it is out there. And granted, it was some dirty streets and some rats that were the size of Walter and Lucky. And rest in peace, Walter, I love you. And, you know, there was some like trash. Like, there was one day we walked and there was like 9 bags of trash just in the street. And somebody was like, oh yeah, the trash guys are like kind of pissed off this week, so they're probably not going to come till next week because they're having issues. And I was like, all right.
That was happening in California.
Bags of just trash on Broadway, like, you know, where people go see musicals and dressed up in fancy clothes and stuff like that, because they still do that in New York. I don't know what's wrong with people in California. Anyway, that's another story for another day. I hate going to the theater sometimes out here because if I see jeans and a t-shirt at the theater, especially in the evening, terrible. And yes, I'm a theater snob and I don't care. Anyway, I digress. That's another story for another day.
There's the other thing that's funny out here, and this is kind of what we were originally going to talk about. You can buy lotto tickets online in Georgia.
Say what now?
You can buy lottery tickets online.
You can't do that here.
You cannot in California. You can here in Georgia. They check your location. You have to be in the state of Georgia to purchase a lottery ticket. But you can purchase lottery tickets online. So I did. I bought some lotto tickets for that ginormous $1 billion.
What was it?
It ended up being like 1.2 billion, but I actually bought it for both that week.
Yeah,
the large ones.
I mean, how lucky is the one person who won the 1.2 whatever?
Some one person won.
One person. Okay. First of all, looking at the odds, how many tickets did he buy? Because some people say it only takes one. And then you have those people who buy, one of the newscasters out here was saying, like, he shouldn't have been the guy for this report because he was kind of bitter about lottery tickets and people buying lottery tickets. Like, he was for real, like, bitter about it. Like, people spending their paychecks. But I guess, you know, the odds are in your favor. And, like, he was, like, really irritated. So the lady in the studio was like, so guessing you didn't buy a lottery ticket? He was like, no. Like, he was really snippy about it. Like, if I was his producer, I would have been like, next time, fix your face and fix your attitude, or you're not gonna be doing no more reports.
No, he probably was the guy that like missed out on some like good meaty journalism assignment. Like, no, you're covering lottery.
You're covering the lottery. Yeah, he was completely bitter about it, and he had like an issue with lotteries in general. Like, he was like, I don't get it, but hey, if that's what you want. Like, he's literally saying these things, and like, if you're watching, I'm doing some of the faces he did, like, whatever, you know, like, fine, if that's what you want to do. Like, he was really like bitter. Like, I don't even remember his name. Joe Blow, white guy, newscaster guy for Channel 4. I don't remember his name at all. Like,
I mean, you're not inaccurate, but like,
but he was like talking about how people spend their whole paycheck, which I know there's some people do that. Yeah. And I know there's offices that put in pools. Like, my mom, when she used to work at, in an actually like a full big office downtown, she worked for the gas station, the gas company for a long time. And they would do like a weekly, like, you know, buy in $10 or $20 kind of thing. But how much do you need in order to get a lottery and win? Like, do you need only one? Do you need 50? Do you need a whole paycheck's worth? Which I hope you're not spending a whole paycheck. I'm not being judgy. I'm just saying, don't do that.
Yeah. You know, I always joke that it's like, what am I willing to lose on it? Am I willing to lose $20 for the opportunity to get $1 billion?
Right.
Yeah, that's fine. That works. Do I do it on the regular basis? No. I'm one of those people that if the jackpot is giant, maybe I'll throw in, for whatever reason. But what's funny, so coming in from Savannah, and actually there's they have them all over California too, but coming in from Savannah, there's one of those Georgia lottery signs that says like what the payoff is or whatever the winning jackpot is.
With the ticker,
yeah. Well, and we only have 3 spaces on ours in there. And so when it hit $1 billion, it just said 999 and that's all I could do. Like it said, but, John and I, when we were dating, we used to go to Disneyland a lot. We both had passes to Disneyland. This was, before it was both your kidneys were required for entry. And which really wasn't that long ago. I mean, it was expensive, but it wasn't stupid expensive and like ridiculous. And now it's like John and I are both like, we just don't really want to go.
Even just going to California Adventure is like
it's
almost the same price as going to the big park, which now California Adventure is like major, like new foods and bars and things anyway, but we digress. We could talk about that another day.
Yeah. But we always did that thing where we would pass by like, oh, well, the jackpot is this, then this is the Powerball and the Mega Millions and all kind of stuff. And we, as kind of a fun thing, have always mapped out what we would do if we won a giant jackpot like that, and like, for us, it's fun. It's like, we would say, what ministries are we going to bless? Like we have a whole list of ministries that we would immediately just like, boom, it would just happen. And and it's all the ministries that we already support, but we would just like, bam, windfall for all these great ministries that are doing amazing things. It's just, we would love the opportunity to continue in that. And then like, I have my dream is to have a place where pastors and their families can come. And
yes, you've been talking about that for a while.
I've talked about this before, I think. Yeah. Like just like a respite and a place where they can be loved on and cared for and given like support for like a week and just have an amazing trip, quiet with their families, away from like the pressures of ministry, and like totally would buy land and make that happen in a nanosecond, like all this kind of stuff. And then I'm like, oh yeah, my car is like 12 years old and has 150,000 miles on it. So I'd probably buy a new car, but like, stuff like that, where we have it mapped out about all the ministries that we would bless and all that kind of stuff that we would do. And I don't mean this to sound holier than thou. Like, that's not like, we would totally buy people houses and stuff, but like, it's the only reason that I am interested in having that kind of money is because I think it would be so much fun to give it away.
Well, for sure. I think that's one of the but that goes with your heart. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like that's one of the things, even if it's not the lottery, even if, our stuff grows and we're able to afford the things, we don't want to afford it just for us. We don't want to be successful just for us. We want to do it so that we can give to others, because even as you give, God gives you back so you can give even more. And though you will do things for yourself and you will take care of yourself, you may get a new car, you may touch up your house or add a room or remodel, whatever. And that's not selfish. And I think that we have gotten that twisted about believers having money, because everybody thinks it's for selfish gain when it's not. And I was telling Jessica, I said the interesting thing, with the lottery, there's a lot of different conversation in the Christian community as to, is it right? Is it wrong? Is it, what? I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't really know what it says biblically. I've never really looked into it like that. But my mom doesn't have an issue with it. She's like you. Her first thing that she has always said if she won the lottery was going to give back to our home church, our church that we are members of now.
Yeah.
That's number one.
Yeah.
She would not only give her tithes, but she would sow into the ministry. Now, there will be a couple things that she said she would put some stipulations on, but that's her business to say. I'm not going to say that. That ain't my business. But she would do that. Pour into Sisters in Ministry, give to Sisters in Ministry, which is a group organization that we work with that deals with women in ministry, and not just in a preacher teacher setting, but worship leaders, hostesses, usher, any form, women's ministry, any form of interest you have in being a woman that works in ministry, because every woman's desire is not to be a preacher and a teacher. Like, listen, Joy and Jess didn't really want to be preachers, though at least I did not desire to be a preacher necessarily, but when God calls you, he calls you, you know, and sometimes I still question that. Sometimes like, did you really? But that's another story for another day. And Jess was looking at me like, shut up. But so she would give to them. And the reality is those two things I would totally give to too. I would pour into We Digress, our women's nonprofit, our ministry, and pour into some beauty vlog stuff. I would pour into the other things that Jessica would want to do. I would remodel the house that we live in currently and rent it, and move to a different area. Not saying that our area is bad, because we really do live in a nice neighborhood, but it's a small spot, but it will be a nice rental space because there's
you guys need a little bit more space.
Yeah. My mom. Yeah. I didn't think of this one. My mom did. She was like, get a driver for my grandmother. So like on the days where we can't take her somewhere and she wants to get out the house, like she has someone that's going to take her. And different things like that. And I think, and of course, like Candace would totally get season tickets to the Lakers because, honey, that is her. I know that your husband has convinced you to like the Clippers, and we are still friends, but yeah, you know, purple and gold till I die.
It's funny because the Clippers called me for season tickets, and I was like, I've moved to Georgia. Please take me off your list. Like, we're not gonna
It's funny. So talking about the lottery though, and this kind of goes with it. So I don't know if you ever watched. First of all, I don't know if anybody knows, but I love game shows and I like playing games. I am I'm a little competitive, but only with games, not like in life, but not really, but mostly with games. Anyway, so I've been wanting to do like Beat Shazam for the last few years. I've been wanting to do Name That Tune because that came back a lot, and I get really frustrated with people. And I'm like,
you would be good at that.
Ariana Grande, like yelling at the TV, and like I really got irritated the other day because like it was some like, especially okay, and this is totally racist, so please forgive me. When it's the black people on Beat Shazam and they don't get the black artist and the two white people do, and I'm like thoroughly disappointed in the fact that you're African American. I was so upset. Like it was a Stevie Wonder song the other night, and they put like, this is what I'm saying. And it was two black guys, right? I'm thinking, and they're in the age range, they're a little older than me. They're gonna know this. I think it was I Just Called to Say I Love You, and they put like Mama Jamba, and I was like, I should come through the TV and snatch you. Like things like that happen. I'm like, and then it's like the younger black girls one time, and it was like the hip hop T-Pain song, but the middle-aged white lady from Kentucky and her daughter got the answer. And I was like, huh? Not to be, but I'm like, how do you not know? I don't even listen to hip hop, and I know. Like, I don't listen to like current hip hop. I don't like current hip hop. I like old school hip hop, and T-Pain is an exception because I like T-Pain. But like, this new stuff, I don't know what y'all talking about. Yeah, and he's a really nice guy in general. But anyway, so that was a little racist moment. Please forgive me. But anyway, so I love game shows. And one of our other favorites is Press Your Luck. I call it Wickle Wonkers. But because I rename everything. It's just who I am.
No whammies.
So a couple weeks ago, I was like, I totally need to apply. My mom was like, why didn't you apply for last season? Because for years I applied for Hollywood Game Night and never got on. I would kill at Hollywood Game Night. I know random pop culture for no reason, and I would have killed it in that game, right? Yeah, no, right? I never got on. Like I applied for seasons, and then the last season I applied, I think they canceled the show, and then whatever. So I was like, I could do Press Your Luck. And so I was actually actively applying, and we were watching this one episode. This lady won what they call the Seattle Seahawks football pass. She gets to go to every Seattle Seahawks home game every Seattle Seahawks away game, they will fly her out, plus the next 3 Super Bowls, whether the Seahawks are in it. And she's like behind the 50-yard line or something like that. The package itself was 98,000 and some change. Like, and she won it. Like, that was like, so if you don't know what Press Your Luck is, when you apply, they ask you like different things you would want. What would you want to do? What would you want for yourself? Like, one of the questions was, what are 5 things you want for yourself, 5 things you want for your friends and family? And so, I mean, people put anything from like gumballs for life. Like, this one guy like got butter for life the other night. And I was like, okay, I mean, I'm gonna go with it, but okay. Like, okay. But from that to cars and a camper or anything in it's been crazy. And I really want to do it, not just for me. I want to do it so I can get some stuff for everybody else. And because you win cash and prizes, right? And if you get up to a certain level, if you get to like close to 500 and something $1,000, they automatically, once you pass the final big bucks round, you get $1 million. And this one guy, he was close to it. And I honestly would have walked away with some of the prizes he had. And he had just won, him and his wife, like 2 cars and some other things. He played one more time and he got one whammy and wiped all 500 something thousand. He had one more spin. I think he ended up getting his total for both rounds, because everything you win in the first round, after you beat out the first 3 people, you get to keep. So he only beat them by like $2,500. He had $2,500. So I think he went home with $20,000, which of course is not anything to snarl at. But to go from 500 and some change almost to, like, he for real had 498 something and some change to $27,000. But it also shows you a little greed, because there are times, like the lady with the Seahawks, once she won that, she had one more round that she could have gone. But her thing was, I promised my son I would take him to the Super Bowl one day. And I don't want to risk losing this. She had an autistic, she had 2 boys. One, her older son, she won a honeymoon for him and his fiance. They get to take, so the first thing it said that she won tango lessons in Spain. And she's like, I'm going to gift that to my son and his new fiance for their honeymoon. And I was just like, the first 3 episodes of this season, everybody, I was like, I just want to hug you. There was this black lady on the first episode, honey, she was calling out the name of Jesus. She was praying. She was like, I rebuke you, whammies. Like, she was... I was like, yes, ma'am. Like, I was lit like it was my family. I was so excited for her. And she won some really great stuff. She takes care of her mother, who just moved in with her, and she got a camper so she could take her mom and her grandchildren on road trips because her grandmother can't really fly very often and things like that. So it's been some really amazing things and some really great prizes. And they have a new prize box this season called the Prize-a-Palooza. So if you land on it, every prize that's on the screen at the time you stop, you get it.
Oh, shoot.
And so it forced me because I have to redo my application because like it got cut off halfway between. Because I really do. I have no shame in saying this. I really do want to go on there, and it's not just for me. All of the prizes I put, it was hard for me to think of just the stuff I wanted. Though I thought it would be easy. Mm-hmm. It wasn't. I kept thinking about other people, trips for other people, cars for other people. The Laker, I would love to give my mom a Laker package like that lady had the Seattle Seahawks package. Like, what? Come on, like crazy.
Your mom would love that.
Like last night, this guy, his wife they're from Wisconsin, but his mother is originally from Chicago. So his family are Chicago Bears fans. She's a Packers fan. Yeah. He got every Packer Bears game for the next 10 years. So home game and away game for the next 10 years. Anytime the Packers played the Bears. And that was like $88,000.
That's pretty
his
good.
wife was more excited about that than the Hawaii honeymoon that he was giving away to his parents. I was like, oh no. And he just got married 3 weeks before he filmed that episode. And I was like, I know you're not giving the honeymoon to your mama and your daddy. But apparently they never had one, and they've been married for 30-something years. I mean, it was noble, but I was like, if I was your wife, I would have been like, bruh. But she was really hype about the football
Right.
game. So I was like, hey, then if that's her, maybe that's her honeymoon.
You know,
So
everybody does
he
different
did
strokes
really
for
well.
different folks,
And he was the only one that made it to the final round with no whammies. Like he lost nothing in that last like round. So anyway, I said all that to say that I really want to do that. You know, it's a lottery in a sense, you know, like I want to do that so that I can do some things and I can win some money to take care of some of the things that we have planned and take care of some things that my family needs to do and take, you know, some family vacations and make some more memories while my grandmother is still here and, you know, some different things like that. And, you know, pour into some organizations, not just ministry, but some children's organizations. I still believe in the arts for young people, and it's dying down in a lot of our schools. And so I'm grateful, though my school, those kids frustrate my bones. I'm grateful that I have a school where it is very promotional of the arts. Like I'm able to do what I do because the arts is very as important to them as math, English, and spelling. Now, if you can't do math, English, and in history and science, then we have a problem. You know, you're not going to get bad grades and perform. That's just not going to be the rule. But I would love to pour into some of those places that don't have the resources to do what I do, you know. And then I would hire a choreographer because I'm tired of choreographing shows because I'm not good at it.
There it is.
Anyway.
Yeah. No, I you know, it's funny. Not that this is where we should get our source of wisdom from, but I'm reminded of Hello Dolly. So when I was in high school, fun fact about Jessica, we did the stage play that Hello Dolly is based on. So it's actually based on a play called The Matchmaker. We did The Matchmaker, and I played Dolly Levi, which probably shocks no one. That would be the type that I would be cast as. There is it's full of monologues, like that's monologue-tacular, this particular show. And this monologue appears almost verbatim in Hello Dolly. So if you've seen Hello Dolly, you've seen this. Dolly Levi has this line that she repeats. And she used to say, as my dear husband Ephraim used to say, money, pardon the expression, is like manure. It's not worth a thing unless it's spread around encouraging young things to grow.
I love that.
And
I don't even remember that line from the movie, but
yeah, it's there, and she says it, and then that's kind of like the seminal moment. Spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't seen Hello Dolly. It's like 50 years old.
It is, but it's a good musical.
It's more than that. Yeah, but at the end, Horace Vandergelder happens to say the exact same line, and that's how she knows she's okay to marry him. It's a whole thing. But like, to be fair, I think that's true. Like, I think that is a reflection of, kind of in a weird way, that's a reflection of what God tells us about our resources and what he has given us. Like, whatever we have, we need to have open hands with, because when we understand that the resources that we enjoy are not ours, they are the gift of a generous God, that he is the source of everything. Yeah. You know, we might get it through the lottery or through our job or through any other means, but God is the source of that, and he's the one that has provided that. And when we understand that, I think it helps us to be able to have open hands, to be able to be generous. Because that is an act of worship when we are generous with what we have. Doesn't mean we be foolish with what we have. We have to be wise stewards. But wisdom and stewardship is generosity with those around us. And that's with our time, our talent, our treasure. Like, if we are generous with those things, I believe God will be generous with us back. You know, because if you're not generous, then you have your reward already because you have the resources. But if you are generous and willing to give away what you have, and that doesn't mean you have to have a lot to give it away. Like, Jesus holds up the woman, you know, the widow with her 2 mites, and says, like, she's an example to be followed, not because she gave a ton away, but because she gave sacrificially and she gave generously, not out of her plenty, but out of her want. You know,
I feel like people think a sacrifice has to be, what is a sacrifice to you? Like, what is a sacrifice for someone else isn't what's a sacrifice to you. So if, you know, you have $20 to give in a special offering that your ministry does for whatever reason, and someone else has the 150, doesn't mean that your 150 is any less than the 20, because we don't know.
Did you guys see?
I do here.
It's Murphy. We are dog sitting.
Hey, Murphy.
For my parents. And
he's like, I'm willing to be in the show.
Make an appearance on the podcast.
Hi, Murphy.
Say hi. He's got crazy eyes. Hi.
He's like, I want to be hugged.
He's a sweet boy, but he does. They are not used to this whole not being, my mom
so
is
she's
retired,
home all
she's
day.
home all day. And I'm home all day, but I'm
right.
working,
and she gets to coddle and cuddle.
Yes. And these dogs are spoiled.
Well, they're your mom's dogs, so I have no doubt that they are.
You spoiled, Ron.
Not at all. Yeah, but yeah, I agree. I think so. Whatever your views are on gambling, or because I mean, I hear the same conversation when he talks about like Christians going to Vegas and like whatever. I don't like to lose money like that. So the first time I lose anything, I stop and then go shopping. Like that's what I used to do with my grandmother when I was younger. Younger as in my 20s, not my teens, guys. Let's just make sure I was legal. Actually, by the time I was 18, because it's legal by then. But but we would go shopping. Like when she like lost a nickel, you know what I'm saying? It was like, we're done. Let's go shopping and eat. And that's what, to this day, when I go to Vegas, like shopping, eating, exploring are the things that I do. I'm not a gambler in that sense, but put me on a game show, lottery every now and then.
That's like sort of a skill. We have a friend who won a lot on the prices, not the prices right, on Wheel of Fortune.
Nice. I feel like I used to think I would do good on that show, but lately I don't think, because I've been looking at some of the puzzles from home.
Our friend Tara.
Oh yeah, Tara. She sure did. Yes, she did. She did. She did very well on there. Yeah. It afforded her to be able to do some things that she really wanted to do, which was really great. So yeah, I'm not saying that game shows are the same as gambling or whatever. No. It's just like people look down on so many things without knowing why they look down on it. And like I said, I don't know the biblical, and maybe it's something I need to look into about like the lottery and gambling and things like that as a Christian. But if we did, I know for Jessica, for myself, and for so many others, what we would do with the money would not be selfish at all, And at the end of the day, would the church say, I don't want your money because it came from the lottery?
I mean, and that's their prerogative if they do. I look at it like this. It's like a lot of other things that we talk about in scripture. If we put our trust in that, if we place our hope and we pin our hopes on that and not on Jesus, who is the source. And if we are doing too much, if we are addicted to it, if we are going and not in balance with it, if we are, again, placing our hope and our trust and all our eggs in this basket, and this is going to be the thing that saves me, we've made it an idol, and we have made it something of more importance than God. And that is not right. And that is the same that it would be true in all the sins, gluttony, alcoholism, like those things. True. They are sicknesses, but they come from, and I'm certainly guilty of gluttony, from time to time. I put my, I eat my emotions, I'm going to talk to some food about this in the words of Tina Fey.
Man, and, for real. I mean, I caught myself going there this week. It's been a very emotional week, and I was like, and then I had to think like, okay.
Right. And that's the thing. And that's not to excuse sin or say that we shouldn't be pursuing holiness, and be serious about pursuing holiness, because we absolutely should. I think that we need to be mindful that sometimes, God is asking us to understand his preeminence and importance and his supremacy over all things. I think that's probably why, in a lot of respects, Christians don't win the lottery oftentimes, just because I think that God
could totally be true.
Knows us, and it's his actual generosity to us that we don't win, because he's trying to protect us. To be fair, because money, you get a lot of money. Sometimes you rely on that instead of him.
And he, but it doesn't take the lottery for that either. But then, like I said, it goes to, I know a lot of believers with money and that have it and have great blessings, homes, cars, all the things, but they don't focus on the things they have, because they do still give like crazy. They give as much as they have, they give. And I think that's why they are so blessed, because they give. So I think, it's not just about not having a lot because we focus on it. It's where's your spirit, where's your heart, because some people may not be able to handle it, but there are some who happen to also be believers that do, and they handle it well, and they do what they can with it. They give to the poor, they give to their ministries, they give to other ministries. They, one of the things I really truly loved about Transformation Church in the last few years, their ministry has given millions of dollars to other churches for whatever reason. One ministry, it was to help pay off their building. Another ministry was to help them get the equipment that they need to stream in excellence during the pandemic, because they didn't have the resources to do their services the way they needed to keep people engaged. They have given to the some of the natives of the seniors of Tulsa. They have given laptops to the kids, all the seniors and juniors in their town that are preparing to go to college and needed brand new laptops to finish their homework and do things. So it's what you do with it and where your heart is when you have it. I think that's what it boils down to.
And I think if this is something that we practice, and I don't mean this to be like prideful, but I just say it so that I know that, I practice what I preach. If we want to be entrusted with a lot, we have to be good stewards of the little that we are entrusted with at first. And so we don't always get it right, but we try our best to be good stewards of the resources that we have, to be generous with what we have now, as opposed to, looking for a lot, but not preparing ourselves for that lot. Right. So if you don't have a lot right now, which I know a lot of us don't, and it's tough out there because inflation is crazy.
Special thing, man.
Yeah.
I heard this one lady say, and everything's going up, but my check, like everything is going up. And and the reality is, with inflation, we should be able to make it to where people can still live. It is not our fault that the economic crisis is what it is, because a lot of it had to deal with the pandemic and the things that we've been going through for the last few years. And not saying that we're being blamed, but in a way with inflation, we are. And I know that store owners have to do what they have to do. I know that the oil companies have to do what they have to do, I guess. And though it's coming down a little bit here, like it was $5.25 the other day, and I was like, hallelujah,
it was under $5 in Orange County this morning. I was on the phone with my friend.
So I'm like, I understand.
And it's come down quite a bit here too, thankfully.
For inflation and why things are so high right now. I mean, I bought barely any groceries the other week, and it was $105 for the little bit that I had. It wasn't even a whole lot. But
our grocery bill has doubled.
Exactly.
And I am like obsessed about trying to get the cheapest price on stuff.
I mean, there's some things I don't skimp on, but if I can, like, I try to, I'm learning to budget better, because like I've always prayed, like from even before my 40s, like when I get married, I hope he's really good with money, because I just give it to people and buy things, not selfishly. I would just do things like, birthdays are coming up. Oh, it's such and such's birthday. I want to get him, and I don't want him to be a tightwad to where I'm like, getting an allowance, because I don't want that. But somebody who's good with it to where they're paying attention to things that I'm not
Mhm.
going to pay attention to sometimes, and then help me be better at paying attention to them because I don't always. And that's just,
Well, and it's important to have those conversations. Like that if you're
okay.
engaged, go to
believe
premarital
in that.
counseling and make sure that you talk about finances, family, intimacy, and your walk with the Lord.
I believe
those
in
4
that.
topics, because that will.
I agree,
Yeah.
100% with the married person, because I'm not married. So I'm going to tell you that I agree with the person who is married, because I absolutely agree with those 4 things of being a priority.
Yeah.
Because you hear so many stories that people get into relationships and then they get into marriages and they didn't know that their spouse didn't want children exactly, or they didn't want more than the number that they wanted, or they didn't know how
Right.
to have intimacy, or what that whole thing is. And that's a whole nother subject for another day. But
right.
we'll put that
on the
another
podcast
episode for sure.
Topic.
It's not our fault though. And people are struggling right now financially.
Yeah.
And so I think the reason why the Mega Millions was so, huge, because there was a lot of people who were like, I need this. I need relief. I need a break. I need something to happen for me because I need to be able to take care of my home. I don't think that it was all completely, I'm not saying I know everybody that bought a ticket, but I can imagine the conversations that people were having with themselves and with their families. Like, there's so much going on in that thought of what the lady, I had seen somebody say, like, prices are going up, but my check is not, and something's got to give. And that was literally the exact statement that she made, and that came to my mind in this conversation that we're having. It's a lot going on, so I get why wanting to find a quick fix for the things that we have. Like, I applied for a program in LA called the Breathe program, where they give, if you're making not up to a certain level, they help supplement your income by giving you a certain amount per month for a year. I haven't heard anything from that. I applied 6-7 months ago. Probably won't hear from them, but whatever. But the fact, the reality I liked it was that it was called the Breathe program, because you just need to breathe. You need to be able to breathe.
Yeah.
You need to be able to take care of your household and do the things you need to do without being stressed out. And there's so much of that. So I can imagine the thought processes of people like, hey, I want to hit this money so that I can breathe.
Yeah. And I'm not going to sit here and say that if you give, God will give back to you. I will say, though, that scripture is pretty clear that when we are generous with our giving, God supplies all of our needs.
That it is.
Like, he says it very clearly, like, test me in this and see if I will not overflow the storehouses of heaven. And so much of the time, my experience has been, I don't have too much, but I have enough. Yeah. A bill, I get grace on a bill, or the amount is different than I thought it was going to be, or
sometimes it's not monetary, it's favor. It's God working it out in a different way,
or a job comes in that I wasn't anticipating. So I will say this, that I think scripture is pretty clear that God, there are very few times when God says, if you do X, I will do Y. One of those is when we ask for wisdom. He says he gives it. And I think the other one is that he does provide our needs. Sometimes it's a nail biter. It comes down to you quick. Like,
doesn't it? Boy.
His timing is very different from ours, admittedly. But I do believe that God will provide for our needs if we are generous. And I think, because here's the thing, I think generosity is a reflection of who we are on the inside. When we are willing to be generous and when we desire to be generous, even if it's not a lot, like even if we can't be as generous as we want to be, which I don't think any of us can be as generous as we really want to be. But like, even when we are generous as much as we can be with what we have, that says to God that I am trying to model you in the world. Like, I am trying to reflect your heart and who you are, to be a man or a woman after your own heart, to give and to serve and to love. I think that says a lot about who we are as people. And frankly, our world needs our generosity right now, not just because it needs the resource, but because it needs people who are willing to, kind of like we talked about earlier, think about others and not just be out for themselves. You know, like our world is in desperate need of people who care about each other, people to love one another. Cause our world is just, it's hard and it's ugly and it hurts.
It's something else. And in all honesty, generosity isn't always just giving of finances, giving of your time, giving of, your heart, giving of even a skill, giving something that you do for someone else that is, you know, selfless and just out of the abundance of your heart. Because those are the things that, are a blessing. You can do something like use your skill for this one person for one time, and then they come back and they pay you for it the next time, or they tell somebody about you and they want to pay you for it. Like I was watching this video of a girl. It's interesting how gospel music randomly shows up on my timeline on TikTok, but it has nothing to do with Jesus. There's this Kurt Carr, "Yes, Lord, for the rest of my days" sound that's going on. And I'm like, y'all don't know what that song is even about. Yeah. I know some Christians have used it, but some people who are not Christians are using it, and they're just using it as a way to tell their story. So this girl was talking about how at her friend's wedding several years ago, she used her iPhone 7 at the time to clip together some video clips as a gift for her friend at the wedding. And she sent it to the friend. Friend loved it. Another friend was like, "Hey, can you do it for me?" And she was like, "Okay." So she did it. And apparently, like, her videos are absolutely phenomenal. She did it on her iPhone at the time. Her friend posted it on Facebook for the second wedding. From that, she started getting business from something she did as just something cool she was going to do as a gift to her friend to see her wedding in a different light. And she was like, what do I charge for this? Like, she didn't think people would pay $500 and $800, and then kind of find out they would. And people started paying her $1,000 per job. Then she ends up being like one of the top videographers, and she got an award for being the top wedding videographer in the state of Kansas, Kentucky, one of those places. And it was a K. I can't remember. and that's what I'm saying. Like, she started it from the abundance of her heart. She started it as a gift, as a skill, and now it has turned into something that she never expected. And she's able to do it. And then even on I went to her page and it said, "Yes, I do it all with an iPhone." And you know, like, that's amazing. I would love to see one of her wedding videos just to see what it's like, because apparently they're amazing and she's won awards for it. But it just, that reminded me of what we're talking about, the way, you know, it came from a generous place. It came from a genuine place, and she did not expect for it to happen. Not saying that I don't know if she's a believer or not a believer, but she did not expect God to turn her life around the way he did. And he totally flipped her world upside down. And then it's been such a blessing to her and others ever since. And I mean, at the end of the day, that's what my heart is for us. Like, I just pray and just believe God that we're walking in something he called us to do. I don't believe we have the vision and the ideas that we've had that came from nothing, and that we will do it and we will continue to do it. And hopefully that it blesses someone. And when it does, they'll share it, and somebody will come back and they want to know more about who we are, and we can tell them who we are and what we do and who we serve. And that's what I think every believer at some point, whether it's about business or ministry or nonprofits, whatever it is, I think that's just kind of what we all want and what we all desire. At least I that's what I think in my mind.
It reminds me of there's an old hymn, and I think it's a hymn or a Christmas carol, I can't recall. It goes, "What can I offer, poor as I am? If I were a shepherd, I would bring a lamb. If I were a wise man, I would play my part. But what can I give him? Give him my heart." I think is how the lyric goes. I guess it must be a Christmas one because of wise men. But, you know, it's that idea. It's like, whatever we have to give, whatever the work of our hand is that the Lord has given us to give, to do, you know, whatever skill we have, whatever we have, when we put it into service for the kingdom, whatever resource we have been given by God, when we turn around and give it back to him, he blesses it. And the blessing might be ours. The blessing might be somebody else's. But in every aspect, if we do that, God will get the glory. And that's what we're here for anyway.
Yeah.
So, whether we win the lottery or not, we should be generous with what we have, of our time, our talent, our treasure, all the things that make us who we are, that God has given us to do. That's just our encouragement for you as you listen to this. Like, be generous. It's funny because I don't think this episode started with us going, let's talk about generosity. It was, let's talk about winning the lottery. And you put two pastors on it. We're going to Jesus.
Yeah, I mean,
holy.
It's a good lesson to learn, though.
It's interesting to us, right? But that's the thing. Like, whatever we have in our world, like, God is revealed in it, and you can find God in a lot of places you don't think you can.
That's very true.
So, be generous, right? And if you've got a story about generosity and how God has used that, like, we want to hear it.
Sure.
Let us know. You can go to joyandjess.com. That's JOIANDJESS.com. You can go to our Instagram at We Digress with Joy, again with an I, _ Jess. And you can leave us an email at podcast@joyandjess.com. Let us know what's going on. So I realized, you're going to hate me for this, I realized that I had that email was not working properly. So we've been putting that email out for a couple weeks. As of August, the email is working correctly. So hopefully, if you've emailed us before and we haven't replied,
oh my,
I am so sorry. That wasn't my fault. That was my own technical foible. There was an email address, but it was info@joyandjess.com, and it was not working properly. So now it's working properly. Podcast@joyandjess.com. Send us your email. Podcast@joyandjess.com. And we would love to hear from you. We'd love to chat with you. Let us know what's
we
going
actually
on.
also want to do an episode, and I'll be posting about this soon. We want to do an episode where we answer some of your questions, or we hear some of your stories or different things. So write in, send us messages, DM us on Instagram, send us the email. We want to talk about it on air. We won't mention your name on air, especially if it's something asking for advice, or if you just say you want to anonymously. I can't talk today.
Easy for you,
share a story that we want to, you want to put on the air just to get it out there. It could be a fun story. It can be something that it was, one of those like, am I the jerk? Or it could be asking advice, or even something, you want something prayer you need, anything like that. So hopefully we'll be getting that episode out soon. I'll be posting on our page and putting that out there, because we would love to do an episode just kind of dedicated to you guys, and what do you feel, what do you hear, what are you going through, all those things.
Definitely. So thanks for listening, guys.
Thanks for listening. Check us out on the web at joyandjess.com. That's JOIANDJESS.com. We'll see you next week.